Hi, this is Julian for Production Expert. I've got a copy of the new version of Saturn 2 from FabFilter. Very, very new to this, only just downloaded it, had a play, and it's brilliant. Here I've got a session with Rhodes piano, drums, bass, all things that take distortion and saturation very well. And here it is running without anything. Here it is with some stuff across the kick, the snare, the bass and the piano and the master. Apart from a gain increase, tonally, there's loads going on there and it's dynamic stuff. It's not just putting a load of sus on top, which I think is fantastic. What's been going on? Well, here we are on the master. And the UI, very similar to the old Saturn. You've got a multi-band interface. You can create new bands just by clicking, and you can solo and mute as you go along. Level controls here. And as you click through each of the bands, you get the different controls for each. There are a load of new saturation distortion types, including some amplifiers and subtle variations on tape and tube and things like that, which is great. Some dynamics and tone shaping things, but it's the modulation system that's really been overhauled. Here, for example, this is across the master. And using this slider, I can either lean into the effect or back it off. The way that works is, if we have a look in here at exactly what's happening, this is scaling the input gain and the output gain. And if we come down here and show that while we're pulling this around, we'll find that as the input goes up, the output comes down, and vice versa. Much like using 1176. Really, really nice. There's so much more you can do with the modulation. Any combination of sliders, controllers, LFOs, and you can build complex and kind of wild effects. But in here, all I've done is I've just used it for kind of what it's appropriate for. For example, here on the drums, if we come across here, on the kick drum, I'm using the feedback control and the dynamics, kind of gating it slightly with very, very high feedback and not very much drive to kind of add some subtone underneath. So if I pull this up slightly so it's not gating it as much, hear that extra weight on the kick? If I turn it up, it will start to hang around too long. Lovely stuff. Over here on the snare, really bring out some edge with some warm tape and a little bit of tone shaping. Simple example. On the piano, all I've really used it for is to add some fur and kind of warmth to the bottom end using Warm Transformer. But up at the top, I'm using one of the new guitar amps to add some real grit, but only to the top end. Still on the piano, as a simple demonstration of the kind of things you can do with the modulation, I set up this, which is just one long sustained chord, and then put a kind of tremolo effect on it that tipped each band alternately, using, in this case, just an LFO. If I come over here and turn this on, that's just giving a bit of a wobble to the bottom. And then over here, I've inverted the LFO, running at the same rate, to introduce a little bit of wobble to the top. So as one comes down, the other goes up, a kind of harmonic tremolo effect. That's something that's really difficult to do in most plugins. That's only scratching the surface of what you can do with this, but in the few minutes that I've had with Saturn 2, it's a keeper. It's really, really good. If you want to check it out, head over to the FabFilter site and get yourself a demo.